What's up, everyone? It was a weekend of upsets in the USL Championship playoffs, but Orange County did their job and secured a second round matchup at Championship Soccer Stadium by beating El Paso at home in front of a sellout crowd. We're going to talk about that, plus much more. We got some guests scheduled to join us as well. Let's get this thing started. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I don't know what's going on with my camera today, but I apologize for that if you're watching live. But we're here to talk about all things Orange County Soccer Club, not the camera work here. First joining us, we got Dylan in a new background location, but still the same old Dylan. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm not too bad. Thrilled we got to advance on the weekend, and yeah, doing well.
Simple and sweet from Dylan. Also helping us out on this one is Hallway the Lads.
Dear God in heaven, man, do you even watch soccer? Hallway the Lads. It's a Sunderland thing, and it's in honor of our guest later tonight, Coach Paul Hardiman, who, in case you all didn't know, played in the 1992 FA Cup final for Sunderland. Let's go, boys.
Thank you, Hallway. We also got the return of an amazing member of this team. We haven't seen her in a while, but she's back. Also with a new background for this episode. That's Taylor. Taylor, how you been?
I'm good. That's true. I do have a new background. We moved our table the other way, so that's why. But yeah, very good. Very happy to be back. Dylan and Taylor, so it is.
I was going to say, long time since we've had you on the show, but we're glad to have you back, especially at this point. I see Dylan's already got his drink of the night. I'm sure Hallway's got his. Taylor's got hers. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to keep this thing winning because I went out and bought a new bottle of my Lucky Rum. So we're going to keep this thing going, and we're going to win the championship because I got plenty, hopefully, to go. It's a full bottle right now, so I got plenty for that. But let's talk about Orange County. I know there were plenty of nerves going into this match with some of the results that we saw across the USL Championship, especially in the Eastern Conference, where I believe it was the top two seeds getting eliminated in the first round, which I think we're all familiar in this league. Things like that happen in the playoffs, and that's what makes it pretty interesting, pretty neat, pretty nervous when you watch the team. But Orange County did what they had to do. They secure the victory, secure a trip to the next round at home against the enemies, Phoenix Rising. Are they still the enemies? We'll talk about that. They held El Paso, I believe, to 0 shots on target, which I think if you do that, you're going to win. I mean, hopefully, unless you don't get any shots on target, then that goes crazy. Dylan, make me stop talking. You start talking. What were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, thrilling. I think I've said that in the past when we've been shipping goals left and right. The game was a little stop-start, but it was, and I think if we hear from the playing staff and the technical staff later on, this was all Orange County. I'm sure our producer would love for me to maybe remind people that as we watch a shot go wide, El Paso had no shots on target in this. Not ideal, in fact, like you were saying, if you're attempting to actually win. So, look, I think I mentioned last week, 1-goal games in the playoffs, it's about, you don't have, it's great if you dominate the game, and it certainly is maybe slightly less stressful, but it is about doing just enough through 90, 95, 100 minutes, however many, just enough to advance. We did probably more than enough in this match, even if the scoreline doesn't reflect that. But something as we watch a beautiful, beautiful ball go in. Something to be proud of.
Very much something to be proud of. And that free kick goal, the one goal of the night, was pretty darn amazing because it's sort of a double-edged sword there for your opponent in that position, because either of the two Iloskis could have gone for that free kick. It goes in the back of the net from Milan with the right foot. Probably the better option there. Larry, you were roaming the sidelines. Did you get a good view of that PK, or not PK, that free kick that went to the back of the net? Or were you out doing some other stuff around the sidelines?
No. I was right on it. I had a great view of it. Got a great video of it for the Orange and Black Soccer Cast Instagram page. That was just, it's just Milan doing Milan things. It's what he does. It's who he is. Now, naturally, with that whole deal I made with Brian about shaving my beard if he scores in the playoffs, I was a little nervous there because I'm looking at that one going, he could go left foot on this real easily. But Milan stepped up and took that one, and it was great to watch. And Dylan said a little stop-start. I kind of disagree. I felt like it was nothing but start from OC. From the opening whistle onward, I felt like this was a completely dominant performance. Yes, maybe our most dominant performance of the entire year. Just everything about this game was just OC. El Paso never had a chance. It was only 1-0. It could have been 5-0 easily if it weren't for some great saves from Diaz.
Some great saves or some just barely missed shots. We saw that earlier in the highlights, the free kick from Kyle Scott that Dogman just puts right over the crossbar, that, a couple inches south, and that's potentially bouncing into the back of the net. Taylor, you were front row front row in the CLC. You all were very, very noisy, appreciative of that. I think a lot of the fans at the stadium around were watching. I was loving every minute of it from my vantage point. What was the atmosphere like for in the CLC for this match?
It was so good. And I think I like to sit and watch the game, and I don't think that I sat for maybe over 5 minutes in the whole game. And I like to do that, but it was just so electric in there. Everyone was on their feet chanting. It was great. And we even had a couple of El Paso fans just to our left of the CLC, but they made zero impact. I can tell you that, even when they were trying to be loud and trying to annoy, you can't compare when you're sitting next to us, especially on a night like that where everyone was just so excited to see how well OCSE was playing. And honestly, from a fan's perspective, if there was more goals, maybe, but I don't think you can get much happier with the performance and the big shots that we're having and the big saves that the keeper did have to make. So it was really great to see it pay off, and everybody, you could just tell, was just over the moon.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing atmosphere, not just in your section, but all across the stadium. There was it was pretty packed. It was advertised as a sellout, obviously, but we all know how that works out. Sometimes people don't make it to the match. Tickets were sold, but the seats aren't filled. But it was a good crowd there, a noisy crowd, an excited crowd. I brought a group of 20 people, a lot of them, that I know that have been to games in the past, but they were enjoying it. I actually got a chance to speak to a couple of the family members of some of the players, which was really cool. And one of my guests got to speak to, I believe it was the Iloski's mother. That's what she thinks it was. I didn't get to experience that because this was in a food line or something like that. But it was a rocking atmosphere. Very much reminds me of what it was like in the championship run 2 seasons ago with the loud noise, the excitement, the stadium, just much more energy than we've seen in the past. On the pitch, some great stuff that we saw as well. Obviously, they were missing a couple players that are probably going to factor as we go through the playoffs here in Kevin Partita and Sparky McNulty. They'll be back next week, but the team did what they needed to without those 2 players. I think Kyle Scott had a really good game. I think the Iloski brothers had a really good game. And probably the best portion of it was our defense with an amazing match. Dylan, what stood out from you on the pitch as far as the play goes? And any players, positions, moments that stood out for you in this match?
I was harping on it in our chat, but because it was the game winner and the match winning difference for us, just this free kick with Milan and Brian standing over it. Keeper has to be, I really think, as close to the middle as he can in the situation. Logically, yeah, Milan's always going to be the first one to take that. Based on what side of the goal, he should be the one taking that. But Keeper has to probably be a little bit closer to the middle of the goal than he normally would. Ends up getting completely blocked by the wall. Brian takes half a step forward. Everybody shifts as a result, kind of like reacting to it. And that's all it took. Keeper takes a little bit, he comes a little bit set to his right for Milan to put it back to his left. And there's nothing he can do about it. So that's perfect. Probably a horrible position. And we can talk to the good goalkeeper among us here in this chat, but probably not the place you'd want to be. Not you, Ray. Definitely not you. One with an accent. The lawyer, I think. Probably the worst place you could be as a goalkeeper in that situation, save for where he was 94 minutes into the match. But it happens.
It happens. Larry, what about for you?
You know what? Keith just said it in the chat. That midfield was sick. Kyle, Brian, and Seth, just absolute, complete, and total control of that game. And on top of that, having a 17-year-old fill in for somebody who is arguably having what could some people would consider an MVP type season for us, filling in for Kevin. It was just so much fun to watch, and I haven't gotten a chance to rewatch the entire game. I watched a better portion of the first half, but man, they were just so good all night. Friggin' Brian just putting on a clinic out there on how to move the ball and how to control the ball and how to get by the defense. It was how we only got one goal is still an absolute shock to me.
Very much. Taylor, I want to ask you, because we have sort of an image right where the free kick is going on here, I believe. How important is that little hesitation fake from Brian Iloski when you're looking at it as the goalkeeper standpoint? How important was it for Orange County with that little hesitation that it sort of leaves the goalie in no man's land because he doesn't now know which way he's going to have to dive?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge in this kind of situation. You can see right there, like OCSC players, I can't tell who it is, but they were blocking like in that little gap. So that's going to make it really hard for him to see. So he's only going by what he can see over the top. So it's going to make him second guess. And then at that point, you're just kind of stuck and you're just trying to recover. So I think that was for sure going to have an impact. So then I think he takes a step left a little bit as well, like forward and left. So he's in like no man's land, like you said. So he's just going to, see, when he does that, he's going over because he thinks, and he's just, there's no way you can recover when a strike is coming in like that.
And it'd be interesting. I'd love to know, like, in these situations, who has the final say between the Iloski brothers when it comes to who's taking the kick? Obviously, we all agree it probably has to be Milan from that angle where it was. That's the better angle to go with. But I wonder who actually makes that decision in that moment. Or are they, is this something that the coaching staff has already planned up for them in these moments? Who's going to do what? Because, you see it in not just Orange County's matches, but multiple matches where players picks up that ball and he's basically, I'm taking this kick. I don't care what anyone else says. So it'd be very interesting if we could find that out. So they get the result, the 1-0 win. Probably, I think we all agree, should have been a couple more goals for Orange County in that. But they get to move on to the next round of the Western Conference playoffs and face Phoenix. While on the other side, it was the favorite teams from the other side of the Western Conference. Sacramento moves on, San Antonio moves on. So as it stands right now, Sacramento and I believe it's Charleston have the home field advantage over Orange County for the remainder of playoffs. But that what happened in the East really helped out, because I think there was a lot of people like sort of struggling with the thought of, if it goes to Pittsburgh, that's not the easiest trip to get out to, or if it goes back to Tampa Bay, well, we were just there a couple of years ago. Do we really want to spend money to go back to Tampa Bay for this? So at least it cleared out some of that. Now it may run through Sacramento, which I think would make some people happy. Or it may run into Charleston, which that might be a difficult one to get to as well. But that would be an interesting final matchup there. It's two of the more veteran or not veteran, but two teams that have been in the league for quite a while. Would be really nice. Phoenix is the next opponent for Orange County. In the past, it's been a really, engaging, chippy match between the two teams. I think we've talked about it recently, not as much because I believe both teams just haven't been like winning at the same time. I believe in our championship run, Phoenix was struggling a little bit last year. We were struggling a little bit. I think Phoenix struggled a little bit last year as well. I can't quite remember. This year, some good matches, but it didn't feel like you had that energy between these two clubs that you had in the past. I think San Diego sort of overtook that this year. I think there was probably a lot of Orange County fans that were looking forward to maybe facing San Diego in the second round. I know people have made some friends with San Diego fan base, and it's just more of that close rivalry. But Phoenix took them out, so it's now Phoenix that we're facing. Dylan, your analysis or your thoughts on Orange County hosting Phoenix in the second round of the playoffs, and do you have any anger or any revenge in mind from the Western Conference Finals like 5 years back?
I can't believe that was 5 years ago. I feel like a broken record talking about things I've talked about in the weeks past, but playoffs, one game at a time, one opponent at a time. Great. We were able to really shut down El Paso and still allow Ryan Dogman some freedom up the left-hand side. Great. How do we transition that to playing against Phoenix and a Darnell King that likes to get up really high? They didn't offer a lot in that match. Again, in our most recent match against them, it took a 35-yard screamer, an absolute worldie that's never going to get saved to level things. This feels like a game that I think might need more than one goal from Orange County. And if we dominate the way we did, great. But just trying to hold on in a playoff match, I think being at home will help a lot, but try and do that as little as possible in this kind of situation and try and strike more than once. I know it's not great analysis to be like, just score more goals than your opponent, but I can see this being probably more than a 1-0 match, as these games tend to either be 6-7 goal affairs or a nice 1-1 with no in between.
So while you were talking, I saw Larry shaking his head. He doesn't agree with you. I want to hear what Larry has to say on this.
No. This defense is way too strong. This is not going to be a 6-7 goal match unless we score 6 goals or 7 goals. But Orange County doesn't need to score 6 or 7 goals. Orange County needs to score 1 goal, 2 at the most. This back line, Owen, Ryan, Marcus, Dylan, these guys are a wall, an absolute, not you, Dylan, although I'm sure you make a fine defenseman. Your hair is too long to play defense, I think. I'm not entirely sure what the rules are on that. Phoenix can score. Danny Trejo was 18 goals, I think, this year, number 2 or 3 in the Golden Boot race. Outside of that, a little bit more firepower, but our defense is just filthy. The team is absolutely nasty defensively. And it's not just those back four. It's those midfielders coming back. It's even Tomas and Milan dropping deep as well. It just reminds me so much. And I hate to bring it up, but my God, everything about what has happened over the last 3 months just makes me feel like it's 2021 all over again. My beard is a little longer than it was, and it's a little bit whiter than it was a couple years ago. But we are just a defensive machine. And I don't know if it just happened like that. I don't know if that's what they intended to build when they put this team together. But damn, it sure as hell has worked. And I don't see this game being a high-scoring game. Yeah, we were ugly early in the season, gave up a lot of crap goals, and maybe we shouldn't have. But, yeah, as of the last couple of months, you better do some magic if you want to score a goal against OC.
Can you imagine what our stats look like if we don't have the horrible start to the season? that put us like way down at the bottom of the table, and then we went on the magical run. I don't agree with Larry as far as we only need one goal. I think 2 goals is more the goal on this one. Plus, I was going for a while where I wasn't biting my nails, but this last match I was biting my nails pretty bad because it just, 1 goal lead in a playoff match is not the easiest on the nerves. Taylor, your thoughts on this? Do you agree more with Dylan or more with Larry on Phoenix as an opponent and what we need to do?
It pains me to say that I'm going to go against Dylan on this one, but I'm with Larry. Even after watching the game, was it last night? Phoenix and Loyal. It was just like watching where we are now. It was like watching a lower tier. Like you wouldn't, if you were just for the first time ever to watch OCSC's last game versus Phoenix's last game, you would question whether they were in the same league. Honestly, that's just how it felt looking at it. And I know they can have better games and we can have worse games for sure, but I just feel like we are so on fire at the moment. Our defense is so compact. It's just crazy, the difference between last year and the comparisons we can do to the year before, that I just feel really good about it. And I don't think that we're going to have to score that many, but the more the better, absolutely.
So what I heard there from Taylor is Orange County is Tottenham and Phoenix is Sunderland. That's what I heard on that one. Dylan, who from Phoenix, if anyone, who scares you on Phoenix?
I almost don't even want to dignify anything that you have to say after that.
That's just what I heard when Taylor was speaking. I could be wrong, but that's the way I heard it.
You really need to start
from her
listening.
Scottish accent to my English or American English accent.
Yeah, you really need to start listening. I think they.
Or if that's a hard question for you to answer, Dylan, who from Orange County needs to step up, and who's like the key focal point for Orange County to secure this win?
Focal point, I think, will always be Milan, just by nature of him scoring so many goals. I do kind of, I mean, everybody's looking forward to Kevin Partita being back. I do hope that he is back and he keeps his head on in this match, just to be. I think these games do get chippy, even if the rivalry does feel like it's a little bit past it. If he keeps his head, I think we'll be okay. That being said, I think shutting out Danny Trejo the way that we did 2 months ago, a month ago, however long it was ago, is going to be probably the biggest thing, and force Phoenix into trying to take 30, 40-yard shots. Because, again, we talked about this when they scored that thing. The XG from that is probably like 0.0 a digit, So, yeah, find Milan, dominate the game. But realistically, I think seeing out a playoff game, someone like Kyle Scott just controlling the tempo is probably going to be the deciding factor in the 80th minute on.
Larry, really quick, I want to ask you this question. We all remember the 2021 run. That was based off a really strong defense from Orange County. We were stingy. Mm-hmm. We didn't give up goals even in the playoffs. Although we didn't sometimes score enough goals, we had to go to PKs in the playoffs. We weren't giving up the goals. And I always tell people, hey, if you don't give up a goal, you're giving yourself a chance. Which team, when you look at 2021's team and our current team, which team do you think is the stronger defensive team? And why is it this current season's team?
And why is it this current season's team? Without giving any disrespect, because tremendous amount of love and respect to both of our center backs that year, Michael Orozco and Rob Kiernan. Those guys were fantastic. But in Marcus Knackham, we have an even better version of Michael Orozco at 25 years old, 24 years old. However, I don't know exactly how old Marcus is. 22?
27.
Is 27? Okay, 27, whatever. I think that if you put Partita into Dylan's Dylan Powers' slot where Dylan was playing in 2021, and you put Kyle Scott into the spot where Eric Calvillo was playing a lot in that year in 2021, I think that combination is better this year than back then. I think that the center backs, I don't even remember who our wing backs were, who our left and right center backs were in 2021. Somebody remind me. Dylan, you got
Nathan
it.
Smith, Brent Richards, but also
Okay.
Kevin Alston was a emergency center back / played a few minutes. So
Absolutely. So when you take those four, and again, no disrespect to them because they brought a trophy home, and this team hasn't done that yet. And until they do, they're still the second best Orange County Soccer Club team ever. But you put those four that we have in the back right now up against the other four, and it's just, I'm not even sure it's apples to apples. It's like apples to cranberries, maybe not apples to oranges, but something kind of close, maybe.
Are cranberries and apples that close?
Same color.
I'm not a Marcus expert. The only reason I know his age is because my oldest son brought a friend to the game, and she was very intrigued with the players and wanted to get pictures. And Marcus took a picture, and then she was wondering how old Marcus was, and I told her the age. That's the only reason I knew off the top of my head right there how old Marcus is for the match. Dylan, are you okay? You look confused.
Yeah, I had a question that I didn't want to ask actually afterwards. I just want to say that saying that Marcus Nakim is better than a 25-year-old Michael Orozco is a hell of a take.
Not better than a 25-year-old Michael Orozco. He wasn't 25 with us.
Was it? So sorry, a 27-year-old Marcus Nakim is better than Michael Orozco was. Is that
at the time?
What we meant?
I'm saying that he is better than the 35-year-old.
Oh yes. Okay.
And here's one thing I'll say with
nothing but love for Michael and him as the captain. Love that man. Great human being. Amazing soccer player. But if you told me right now you can have a 35-year-old Michael Orozco or you can have a 27-year-old Marcus Nakim, I'm going to take Marcus all day, every day.
I think there's a lot of
clarified.
Yeah. I think you could get a lot of love with Marcus too, because as much as we loved Michael and Rob, Marcus just brings that extra bit of like passion, and he really pumps up the fans. He's really a key focal point in getting the fans involved. If the fans aren't being loud enough, aren't getting crazy enough, he's going to rile them up. Really quick, Taylor, we do have a guest coming on, but I want to give you a quick question because it was going through the chats really quick. There's conversation about who's basically the most improved in the season. I've seen Kyle Scott's name come up. I've seen Dylan Powers' name come up. What's your thought?
I'm honest. I'd probably have to say Scott, and I know that's probably just a common answer, but I did not like him coming in. Like I really did not see where like that in my private thoughts. I wasn't going around and saying that to people, but I really didn't see how he was going to have an impact, and that just shows you why I'm not the one calling the shots. But he like surprised me, and it was, I mean, he turned that around like very quickly, I think, but he's just been getting better and better and better. And when he's not there or he's having a slightly off match, you can really feel it and see it in the team. And I think that just goes to show like where he started versus where he is now.
I'm sort of with you, Taylor. Going into the season, I wasn't really high on Kyle Scott, but I'll tell you right now, I've talked about this with a lot of you all. He's become my favorite player on this team for multiple reasons, not just because of what I've seen on pitch, but for multiple interactions with him. He's been amazing. He's been a great player. But it's not to say I don't like other players in this team. One of my other favorite players on this team is now going to join us on this episode. That's going to be a attacking midfield, left-footed extraordinaire for your Orange County Soccer Club, Mr. Brian Iloski. Brian, welcome back to our show. How are you feeling after the match this past weekend?
How's it going, guys?
It's going great. We're excited. We're stoked.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It was a good win, and looking forward to next week.
We're looking forward to next week. I think he's gonna check on some of the things going on.
Is it loud?
But that's okay. It works. It's not a problem. We can hear mostly you. Yeah. Let me ask you this. A question that came up while we were talking about the match is obviously that free kick with you and Milan standing over the ball, and you guys get a chance to shoot. Who has the final say when it comes to a situation like that? Because I think both of you have a good chance of making that shot. Who had the final say there in that moment?
Yeah, we always talk about it over the ball. kind of see how the wall's lining up and take a peek at the keeper and see if he gives anything away. And I also going over it on film. We always go over set pieces with Coach Paul Hardiman the day before the match, and I just noticed that the keeper was always cheating a bit on the set plays, especially closer to the box. So I mentioned that to Milan. So when we got the opportunity in the game, we kind of already had it kind of in the back of our minds that the keeper likes to guess us, that we're going to go over the wall instead of keeping his spot kind of on that back post. So he liked it, and I mean, I wouldn't have minded taking it myself, but I was telling him, let me pretend like I'm setting it up and like I'm gonna go take the free kicks, and that's when you see me step forward, and I was like, and then you just come around and smash it far post. So,
say that again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying I was just on that play. I was going up. I told him, I was like, let me step to the ball like I'm gonna take it, and that's when I do that little step, and I was like, just come and smash it far post. Right when I do that.
The amazing thing is it worked, because if you watch the replay, you made the goalies take a slight step in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Right when Milan was attacking that kick.
Yep. And the last regular season game, I had a free kick against the same keeper. I barely missed against him. It just went wide, and so I also knew that he probably thought that I was taking it. So Milan didn't have to convince me much. I pretty much drew the play up and Milan executed.
Perfect. Go ahead, Dylan.
Brian, on the very important things that everyone would like to know. Please tell us about that celebration. What was going on?
I don't know. Milan was telling me to do something with like my fingers or my hands, and I was like, "Dude, what are we doing?" So it was nothing like we didn't plan anything before the match. Yeah, it was a mess of a celebration. So we got to clean that one up for this weekend.
Please, Taylor, on to you. That's all I care to hear about.
Well, I wanted to ask how either similar or different is it feeling going into the next playoff match versus the 2021 run that we had, where we were also very successful?
That's a good question. It is a similar feeling, but it's a little bit different in a way. I feel like at least during the lead up to the game felt the same. During this time of the year as well, you go into the stadium and the sun's already setting and you're out there for warm-ups and it's dark out already. So just that part of it, you get a different feeling before the game. But once I was in the game, just felt more calm in this one compared to the 2021 season, where I felt like we had a more direct style of play. And especially that first game in the 2021 season was at home against Colorado, raining. The field was a bit of a mess at that point. We went down a man, so a lot more to that game, I feel like, obstacle-wise. This one felt more like a regular match for me during the game.
Nice. That's great to hear. On to you, Larry.
Brian, man, while you and Milan were standing over that ball, I was thinking about that discussion that I had with you about you scoring in the playoffs, and it's still here. So, but Russell Buteau said that Parker says Brian needs to get a haircut before Phoenix, and I guarantee the goal. So something about you getting haircuts and you scoring goals. Hey, listen, if you get a haircut and you score a goal, I will still happily cut the hair. I'm good with it.
Yeah, he always mentions that every time I get a haircut, I play my best games and score my goals. So might need to get a haircut before the match. We'll see.
I can tell you my first memory of you playing was actually when you were playing for Galaxy back in, I think, 19. And I remember watching you out on the pitch and thinking, God, this guy is such a pest out there. He's just running around all over the place, making people crazy. But now watching you the last 3 years in Orange County doing it, I got to tell you, honestly, it's been a joy. It's been a joy. It really has been to watch. But I'm not going to talk soccer with you. I'm going to talk something way more important. December 17th. Something's going on that day.
Yeah, something is going on that day.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Iloski.
Getting married to this one.
Wave.
She just started a movie. Yeah, getting married December 17th. So big time.
That's awesome.
Big time in my life. Yeah.
Tell us about venue. Tell us about the proposal. Did you cry? Did she cry? Give the fans some details on the inside notes.
I proposed in 2021, December of 2021. So almost 2 years ago. Proposed up at Big Bear Lake, Big Bear Mountain. So both of our families were there for a vacation together, just a weekend getaway. And I thought it was the perfect chance to propose in front of everyone. So, bit of a mess of a day actually. It was raining, which we weren't expecting. So I was expecting either snow or sunshine with the snow there. So, bit of an in-betweener. So I didn't really have a spot picked out because everything was closed. So it was kind of an all-day thing where we were trying to find the perfect spot, and then she was kind of oblivious to it all, so she didn't see it coming. So yeah, there were happy tears for sure. And then venue, it's going to take place down in Escondido, my hometown. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. So happy for you. And don't be embarrassed if you cry. I just got married a couple of weeks ago, and I basically cried from the minute she showed up until the ceremony was over. So
okay. Well, congrats.
Thank you. That's all I've got for you, Brian. Again, it has been an absolute pleasure watch. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one more question. Every game that you go into right now, this past Saturday, next Saturday, anything that follows, there is the possibility that that's going to be the last time you get to take the field with your little brother. Mm-hmm. What's the emotions like? Are you thinking about that at all? Is it just not? Is it we might lose and Milan and I don't ever get to play together? Is that even in your head?
It crossed my mind before, but I don't go in thinking like that, thinking that way. And it's got to come to an end at some point. So I'm just pretty much trying to enjoy the moment while still keeping laser focus, of course. And I'm trying not to put those negative thoughts about what if we lose into my head. So yeah, even when we're done playing together, it's more to life than being on the pitch at the same time. So, and we both know that and get that, and I'm happy for him and his move. So we'll have plenty of soccer matches in the backyard still to come. So when we have our family gatherings at my parents' place. So.
Well, here's one thing I want to say, right? With Milan moving out to Europe
for a second.
With Milan moving out to Europe, he's now going to have to be the one. He's the one that's leaving you. He's the one that's going to have to pay for you to come out and visit him, right? You're going to make him fit the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Him and my other brother came out to visit me in Poland, and I was paying for all the meals, and they paid for their trip. I paid for the meals. They stayed with me, so yeah, I'm getting the same treatment for sure when I go out there.
Perfect. I'm going to probably upset a few of my co-hosts on here because I'm going to bring up a topic that they don't typically like. But, obviously you're not the biggest player on the pitch when you're out there, but the cool thing with soccer is size isn't all important. My son tends to be one of the smaller kids out on the pitch when he plays soccer. What's advice you have for players that maybe aren't the biggest, strongest, or even fastest out there? And what do you advise them to do to keep up at it and not get discouraged when bigger players are pushing them around, knocking to the ground, or outrunning them because they got longer legs?
Yeah, I think that's one of the great parts about the sport is that it doesn't really matter about your size. Obviously, it has some advantages, but could argue that it has its disadvantages as well at times. If you're a smaller player like me that can sneak by guys and a little bit quicker, lower to the ground, better center of gravity. I'm a big believer in technique as well. Just overall technique, passing, shooting, chopping the ball, dribbling, defending, even how you head the ball and positioning and all of that. So tactical awareness, just knowledge of the game. So many things so many other things that you can focus on than just the overall size of a player. Whereas I used to play basketball. I 12, 13 years old, I stopped. I wasn't growing as much as the other guys, and like that plays a little bit more of an effect because obviously trying to get the ball up into the basket. I mean, beautiful part about playing soccer is balls on the ground. All the things I just mentioned are, I think, way more important than the size of a player. You look at some of the top players in Europe, and they're smaller than me. So, yeah.
Perfect. I love that answer. We don't want to take up too much of your time because we want to let you we want to make sure you get all the rest you need before you head into a tough week of training in preparation for Phoenix. But before we let you go, any message to the fans that are going to be at the match on Saturday, or maybe they're still considering if they want to go to the match on Saturday? What do you say to those fans?
Yeah, I mean, crowd was great this past weekend. We're looking forward to it being the same. We need the fans on our side. I think that's one of the best advantages of this league is having the home field advantage. I feel like with us having the crowd and the fans supporting us, it gives us that extra step, that extra push, especially in that second half. So looking forward to seeing how it is. Yeah, last game was great. They brought the energy, so I know it's going to be the same come this Saturday.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That is attacking midfielder for your Orange County Soccer Club, and also the man that will potentially be responsible for Larry losing his beard. He still has some more opportunities to make that happen. Mr. Brian Iloski, thank you as always for joining us on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
See ya.
So we're going to move from the field and we're going to move up to the technical staff. We're bringing on for the first time a man who knows this sport, played over 350 matches in the English football system for Sunderland, Bristol Rovers, Wycombe Wanderers, a bunch of others. You've coached out there. You're now an assistant coach out here. And also you're the IDP manager, which I had to look that up. That's the, what is it? It's something about player development, individual development plans for the players, which is amazing because you're doing a great job. We're seeing that with the kids. That's assistant coach Paul Hardiman. Paul, welcome first time on the show. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Yeah, really good. And thanks for inviting me on. It's only taken you nearly 3 years, lads. So thanks very much.
I'm sure we've sent out the requests in the past and we just didn't get it right.
I'm joking. It's my English sense of humour, but no, look, I'm really pleased to be on. And yeah, so the job title, it came when I came over with Rangers, was individual development plan manager. I just try to look after the younger players and bridge the gap from sort of academy soccer or young players soccer into men's soccer, and help them step into the limelight really. So first of all, when I came, there was Raymond Dray, Francis Jacobs, and Kobe Henry were the sort of three that I was looking after. And obviously Kobe went on and did really well, so that was a pleasing thing. Then obviously Crady and Bryce have come into the equation, so it's been a busy time trying to get also the academy stroke reserve team set up, and also trying to win championships as well. So yes, it's non-stop.
And you're doing one heck of a job with these young players. I mean, the fact that a lot of these players are finding some success with the team and moving on elsewhere, that's, props to you for that, first and foremost. Let me ask you this, because it is a very interesting way that Orange County does things here. You have some teams in the league that focus on bringing in experienced veteran players, going all in on a championship. And then you have some teams that seem to go more for that development route. Maybe they're a feeder team for a larger club. Or they, are looking for that diamond in the rough so they can cash in and get a big check when they sell a player off. How is it that Orange County is able to really balance between the veterans, the experienced players, and these really good young players? And how are they making success out of this?
Yeah, so the way it works is obviously you've got to try and sign good young players, and Pete Nugent does a good job of sort of recruiting around America. Sort of like the academy sort of scouts, Sean Bayer, myself, Didier Cretton, and sort of go out locally and watch games. and try and bring in the local talent. So we're scouting really from San Diego all the way up to LA. And we've got a right mixture of players in that reserve team. So the balance really works out. Then you sort of get those boys in and they work with the reserves. And if they do well, then they step up and train with the first team. They're not sort of just plunged straight in. They're sort of drip fed in, given a couple of sessions and then taken back to the reserves. And it's the balance really of making them understand what the step up is. It's not just the physicality. There's a massive step from the technical side, but the biggest thing is the tactical side. I've got to say, one of the things that I've noticed since I've come over from England, and in the intro you said that I've worked for a lot of clubs coaching. I've worked for Portsmouth all the way through, from grassroots all the way through to the first team. And then I went on to Watford, Bournemouth, and then Southampton. And these boys that are being coached there are usually in about 7-8 years of age, and getting really good coaching from good coaches over there. So the step up here is that the boys that come in have had coaching, obviously, at their club teams, but there's a big step from their club soccer to USL. And that's my job to sort of try and educate them, along with Morton as well, and Rich Chaplow before that. So our main aim is to sort of like work with them technically, tactically, physically, and then psychologically. And again, that's another thing. So where you're working with a player that comes in and does really well at the start, and then it sort of levels out a little bit, and then they lose a little bit of confidence. So then you have to build their confidence up again. And we've had that with a couple of younger players. So it's just a case really of getting that blend right. And it's a tough ask, but I always remember back in the 90s when Alan Hansen said about the Man United team, you can't win anything with youngsters. And then they went on to do, ever so well. And that's what we're trying to do here, is give young players a chance to show how good they are, but also sort of like really showcase them in Europe so that we can get them over there. Corradi's over there now. Obviously Milan's going to be leaving us, and then obviously Kobe's gone as well. So in the 2.5 years that I've been here, we've been very, very successful in doing that. And that's a credit to all the staff. It's not just down to myself. Morton has a big part to play in that. Pete Nugent obviously recruiting them, and then Didier Crettenand as well, if they're dropped down into the reserve. So there's a real team effort that makes it happen.
So I'll hand it off over to Larry. He has some questions for you.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, Larry here. I'm the old guy with the beard.
It's just the way the lads there. So that's
yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I pulled this down off my wall because I wanted you to be able to see it. I think you probably can recognize that logo right there.
Yeah, I certainly can. Yeah. So, yeah.
Way back in the 90s, I was stationed on a NATO base over in Europe, and I dated a British girl who was from Sunderland. And having grown up playing baseball and basketball and American football, I had no interest in soccer, and she got me hooked, and she made me a Sunderland fan. So I have been a Sunderland fan since the late 90s. I don't remember you playing for them because I wasn't a fan of the team.
Yeah, I was early 90s.
Yeah, you were there in 95, 92 to 95, I think.
89 to 92. So,
89 to 92. Okay, yeah. So I became a fan a little bit after that. But there was a great question that somebody had posted earlier, and they wanted us to ask, what is the bigger thrill? Playing in the FA Cup final against Liverpool or lifting the USL Championship trophy in 2021?
Good question. Two different scenarios, really, and I'm gonna be brutally honest here. The first one, you're a player, and to get to a cup final is every British boy's dream. Being brought up when soccer on English televisions was just the one live game a year was the English Cup final. And it was the only game that you all sat down as a family and watched. Obviously now it's totally different with all the providers, but that was something special. Meant a lot to me to play at Wembley, and to my family as well. But from a coaching point of view, there's nothing better than winning a championship. And to come over here my first year, there was lots of unfortunate things happened before. Obviously, Braden lost his job, and then Rich and I took over. And, you know, I mean, as I say, the rest is history. But the work that went on there was phenomenal to get the boys to, you know, believe, and that's where that psychology comes in, believe that they're good enough to go and win it. And we were winning games 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and it was almost like we were the Arsenal of the USL Championship. No one could beat us. And, you know, again, this weekend, you know, beating El Paso 1-0, there's a lot of similarities that have happened. And, you know, that was something very, very special. It means so much to me, you know, coming over here and making myself really available to Orange County and coming in and making, you know, history for the club. I always say to Oliver Weiss, the night that we won it at Tampa, to see his face, he was in total shock at the end of it. You know, he's the general manager. He is someone that loves this soccer club. And to be there on that night and see his face, Pete Nugent's face, and James's face, I don't think any of them in their wildest dreams thought we could do it. And I've got to say, when we were 3-0 up at half time, I thought that something had gone seriously wrong. But it was a fantastic night and something that I'm very, very proud of.
Great. I have one more question, Coach. This one comes from one of the fans, Brad Polonsky. Brad actually is one of the co-hosts. He just couldn't be here tonight. We talked a lot before we came on the show about most improved players. And, you know, you're the man with the stats and the plans. And who is it that you have seen make the most improvements from last year to this year? Who's really stepped up?
Good question. The player that hits me straight away is Kevin Petita. Kevin last season was just returning from an injury and sort of found it a little bit difficult last year, but this year he's been an absolute machine in that midfield for us. And then obviously Dylan Powers as well, who has stepped back from midfield into central defence and been absolutely brilliant. He looks so calm and assured there, and it looks like he's played all his career there. And in fact, it's only this season. So those two players sort of really step out. You know, and then obviously Crady, from where he was when he came to the club to where he left us, made big strides. So, and then Colin Shuttler as well, really. Colin from last year sort of being in and out of the team and then starting the season then out with Cody coming in. And so there's been a real sort of energetic change in a lot of the players. But I would say that Kevin Petita and Dylan Powers are the two for me that have done exceptionally well this season. And that's harsh on some of the other players because they've done really well as well. Owen Lamb has been phenomenal at the back, coming in and taking over from, you know, the legend Brent Richards. So, you know, Owen's done well as well, really.
Great. Thank you, Coach. That's all I've got. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all the team's done and your success. And away the lads. And I think Dylan's got a question or two for you.
No problem. Thank you.
Just a few. Well, we look at years past and this year. Another fan question here from Matt Elder. What differences do you see in the team this year versus the 2021 team?
Again, there's lots of similarities. The way that the results have gone for us as well, where we're keeping clean sheets, so the defence is very, very consistent. And if you go back to that 2021 year, there was 5 players really that, you know, stayed in that back four. That was obviously Brent, Michael Orozco, Rob Kiernan, Kobe, Henry, and then Kevin Alston. And it was also having Pat Rogoski behind them. So there was a real back line that was worked as a machine again. And they've got a pride in keeping clean sheets. And this group has as well. At the start of the season, we were conceding some sloppy goals and silly goals, but we've eradicated that, and now everyone takes a pride in keeping clean sheets. And if Colin Shuttler had managed to play in all the games that was available to him, he missed 2 where Juan Santana stepped up, and if he had had those 2, I think he would have got the Golden Glove this season. So another great award for the club. Last year Milan winning Golden Boot. This year having that. But the other thing as well is that we've got Milan scoring goals, and last time it was Ronaldo. So there's quite a lot of similarities really that are happening throughout the season. And the midfield was so solid back in 2021 as well. Spoke to Eric Carvillo on Saturday after the game, and he was devastated, obviously, that they had lost, but thanked me for the time that he had here, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. But we were steady in that year, and there's a lot of similarities, between the 2 groups, and the thing that also is the team spirit, both on and off of the pitch in 2021 and 2023, is very similar as well. Everybody gets on, and there's great, as you saw if you saw it in the locker room afterwards, we have a bit of fun, and each time there's always a different person that's on fire. So the lads love it, and it's great to get the lads going. And to see Nico Roos and Ashton Miles joining in that on Saturday, two lads that have come through the academy, and without those 2, we would have been struggling to have a full bench on Saturday. So credit to those 2 guys as well.
Paul, if we go back a little bit further and look at your time, you were a first-team coach at Portsmouth. You worked under Andy Offord, who, at the tail end of his career, was a development coach at Luton, and is responsible for quite a few players that he's developed. What'd you take away from your time at Pompey, and was being a first-team coach so miserable is that what led you to more of the player development side of things?
Yeah. So when Andy came in to Portsmouth, those players were. I'm not knocking Andy for this, by the way. There was a lot of players that were already in the system and were coming through, the likes of Adam Webster, Connor Chaplin, Ben Close, Alex Bass, Dan Butler. Then Jed Wallace came in his time, but we had a great conveyor belt of young talent coming through, and again that was what we did. Then I was running the football in the community at that time, and it's really grassroots that. But my job was to go out around Portsmouth. And Portsmouth's a coastal city, so you can only use half of the land mass there to scout. Whereas if you're in London, you can go all the way around London. So we are a little bit restricted, but we managed to get into nearly every school within a radius of about 15 miles of Portsmouth. And we were working with young players, sort of 7-8 years of age. And then we were putting them into what we call advanced training centres. And then we would put them into what we call an elite training centre. And these elite training centres, we sort of kept to about 16 players in each age group. And then they were then gradually fed through into the academy. And that's when I got asked to step up because we were being quite successful. I then stepped up into the academy. And then from that, ended up being first team coach. But the production line was very, very good, as it is now at Orange County. We've got some very, very good players coming through, and hopefully some of them might have to go to college first to mature a little bit more and then come back to Orange County Soccer Club. But there's some good players there. So what we want to try and do is give players the best bit, which is, like playing for Orange County. But then if they do really well, then go on to play in Europe. And hopefully, the club can benefit financially from that, but also creating that pathway, as we call it, pathway to pro.
Thank you. On to Taylor.
Well, I have a question. Your answer might just be no, but do you have any exciting news for maybe the season ahead? I know we're still on this one, but I'm looking forward, and I'm sure coaches are too. Maybe players, staff through the academy, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at this time of the year, players are being spoke to, staff are being spoke to. Morton's contract's up, my contract's up. The players, a lot of those, probably about 50% of those will be coming to the end of their contracts. And then also there'll be players that we'll be looking at to bring into the club. So things are always revolving. There will be players leaving, there will be players coming in. But what you hope is that the players that come in are even better than the ones that unfortunately won't be here. So it's a case of making sure that they've got some, there's some good players coming in, and that's the main thing. That's, as I talked about that 2021 season, and the players like Ronaldo Damas now will be looking for clubs. All those San Diego players will be. So it's on a. Do I like San Diego as a club? No, because there are bitter rivals, if you like. But that's the way I was brought up. Your local clubs are your rivals. But I do feel sorry for that club in the sense of that they are, they had a great turnout yesterday. The fans were great down there, and I do feel for them. If that was us, I would feel absolutely devastated. But thankfully, it's not. So. For me, it's about making sure that this club is here for a long time and the best is happening here. So, yeah, players will come, staff will come and go, and we'll just wait and see what happens. But that's about as much as I can give you. I would like to give you more, but it's top secret.
I bet. Well, we appreciate that very much, and thank you for joining us today, too. That's been great.
No problem. Thank you.
I think we tend to like to ask just at least a couple non-soccer or non-soccer related questions just to get to know you as a person. I'm going to ask one quick one, and then we'll let Dylan ask his normal one. This is sort of soccer related, but I want to ask you, if you didn't have a career playing and coaching in soccer, what would have your career choice been?
So when I left school, I always tell this story. When I left school, I wanted to be a soccer player. That was all that was in my head. And when I was 14, I went to see the careers teacher, and she sat me down and she said, "Right, Paul, what do you want to do when you leave school so that we can help you?" And I said, "I want to be a soccer player, miss." And she said, "Don't be so stupid, Paul." She said, "Do you know how many players, young players make it?" And I said, "Yeah, not many, miss." And she said, "So you need to be thinking of something else." So she said, "Go outside, let someone else come back in, and you come back in after them and come up with another job that you want to do." So I said, "Okay." So I walked out the room, let the next person come in. They did their bit. They come out, I'll go back in. She said, "Right, sensibly now, what do you want to be?" I said, "I want to be a soccer player, miss." And she said, "Get out of the room." She said, "You need to really think hard about your life." And I was like, "Oh, brilliant." So I went home that night, and I was sat around the tea table with my mum, my dad, and as mums and dads do, "How was school today?" "Yeah, it was great." What did you do?" "Oh, we had a careers meeting." "Yeah, well, what happened?" So I told him, and my dad said, "Well, she must have seen you play because I don't think you're good enough either, son." And that was my dad. That was my dad's reverse psychology to say, "Go on, come on, and prove to me that you are good enough." And then, sure enough, when I was 16 years of age, I left school, and what did I become? A carpenter and joiner. So a careers teacher, and my dad was right. It was only then that I realised how much harder I had to work, and I went and played for a local non-league team in just outside of Portsmouth, and at the end of that season, I had 3 clubs who wanted to sign me. Portsmouth being one of them, Brighton being another, and Aston Villa, who was the other team who had just won the European Cup. So I was actually turning down the European champions to sign for Portsmouth, who was my home club, because that was the team that I wanted to play for. So if I was going back and I went on a leadership course, and they asked a similar question. And my career so far has gone carpentry and joinery, soccer. And then I finished soccer and like, all right, what am I going to do? I went back to my tools and carpentry and joinery. And then I was sat on a valley roof doing a gutter, and it was pouring with rain back in England. And I was working with this bloke, and he looked at me, and we were both drenched, like soaked to our skin. And he looked at me and he said, "Didn't you play in a cup final a couple of years ago?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And I thought, what am I doing sat here in all these puddles on this roof? And I sat in my car and thought, like, right, I need to get myself sorted. So I went back to coaching. I went into coaching and got a job, and then got sacked at Portsmouth. And then what did I do? I went back on my tools again. So I'm going carpentry and joinery, soccer, carpentry and joinery, soccer. So yeah, I would have been a carpenter and joiner for sure.
And I do have to ask this one last question because I'm going to get in trouble if I don't. Then I'll let Dylan ask his. It's a question we've asked a lot of the players that have come on. In the locker room, we obviously players take control of the music choices that people play. Who has the best, best taste in music, and who has the worst taste in music where you just have to put some earplugs in or something if they're
there's a few of those. The best is Seth. Seth is good, and I like it because he has a mixture. He's not just down one road. He has a mixture. He likes a little bit of heavy metal stuff, and then he's got some sort of like better music as well. But yeah, Seth is the best. The worst, there's a few I gotta say. When they go on and they put them on in the locker room, and I go in and get out as quick as I can and come back to the coach's locker room. So, but when Seth's on, I don't mind staying in there, and he usually does the stuff before the game to get us pumped up, ready to go, and then after the game, he's straight on as well. So yeah, Seth's definitely the best.
I'm sure you saw the reaction of a lot of us when you gave that answer, because for the younger players, Seth tends to be on the not as wonderful side of things. That's why we were sort of all cracking up when you gave that answer.
That's it, yeah. Probably my age is showing, so I'll hold my hands up. Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead, Dylan.
All right, another super important question, Paul, and thank you for telling us kind of about how you've gotten
I
here.
saw your reaction when I said Seth, so
everybody else was like, "Is the worst." Paul, what is your favorite vegetable, and how do you prepare it?
Vegetable. There's only one, and it's broccoli. So broccoli, I'd go probably second carrots, third peas. So if you're ever in England and you have a roast dinner, which is obviously one of our big meals that we have there, it's always broccoli. I like cauliflower cheese as well, but cauliflower's got to have the cheese sauce over it. Otherwise, no, cauliflower's just not there. So now broccoli's number one for me.
Beautiful. Thank you for supporting the English cause with your vegetable choices there.
No problem.
Perfect. Paul, really quick, any last message you have for the fans that are going to be making the trek out there to Championship Soccer Stadium this weekend? What do you want to see, hear from them? And what do the players need from them to be successful?
Yeah, look, honestly, when I arrived here, I remember coming to one of my first games at the Champ and sitting in the stands and watching, and there was about 1,000, just over 1,000 people there. Now seeing as many people turn up and watch us, and it's not just for the playoffs. They're not just turning up for that. They're coming to, the games regularly. So the first thing is turn up in numbers for sure, because it gives the lads such a boost. Please make as much noise as you can. Join in the singing. I think the lads in the corner do a great job, and I love listening to them. We have a bit of fun. Myself, Victor, the goalkeeping coach, and Mario Lemus, the operations manager, about the Kevin Petita song. We think that's great, and so keep singing the players' names, getting behind the boys, and making as much noise, especially when we need you, when we're under, they're attacking and we're under the cosh a little bit. Get behind the boys and really, really drive us forward. I would love to finish this season with another championship, and you know, when you guys sing to other teams that, you know, we're USL champions, you know, they can't sing that. I think that's brilliant. So, yeah, keep it going. And it's something that everyone at Orange County, for a club, you know, that started as it did and has developed as it has, it's something to be really, really proud of, winning that first championship. But boy, oh boy, wouldn't it be so great to win another one?
Yes, it would be amazing to win a second championship. Paul, thank you so much for taking some time to join us on this show, this episode. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get to have you on again in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, assistant coach and IDP manager for your Orange County Soccer Club, Paul Hardiman. Paul, as always, thank you.
No, thank you, guys. And now I can see some names and faces. I won't be calling you Hawaii the lads, but, you know, now I see names and faces. It's brilliant. And please, you know, invite us on any time if you're really struggling. you know how to get hold of me now. So yeah, enjoyed it, lads, and you know, keep up the good work. And let's you know, get behind the boys on Saturday and let's go again.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go again. Let's. We got 3 more matches we got to win, and we're going to raise that cup one more time here in Orange County. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks very much. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks, Paul.
Awesome. So, 2 great guests this evening. We had Brian Iloski, Paul Hardiman, and that's why we went a little bit long. So we're just going to do some super rapid fire random thoughts in case anyone has anything to share. I'll go first to Dylan.
Please answer if you know, at what point does an artist transcend? This is not doing well for probably my image, but transcends that line where they're doing their thing and they're like affordable and easy to get to and see do their thing. And then they where's the line where they become, I'm selling out the forum and it's big and it's no longer cool because everybody's at their show with a phone up and they're talking the whole time. You know where to find me. Please answer.
Oh, and really quick, I'm sorry. I know I said rapid fire random thoughts, but you also got to give a score prediction in your random thoughts. Dylan, add that.
2-1 Orange County.
All right.
Milan.
Taylor.
3-1 Orange County, and then Team Krieger for people that know what's going on there.
All right. Hallway.
I still got to stick with 2-0 the other guys because it's worked since June. So I'm going to stick with that. And I know, and, you know, Ray's got his rum. As for my random thoughts, same one as last week. I got my pink wristband here with the ribbon on it. Breast Cancer Awareness Month still for another week. So any ladies out there watching, check them. Guys, encourage your wives, girlfriends, moms, sisters, grandmas, everybody to make sure they're getting checked because, yeah, it's a rough one. So that's it for me.
Definitely. Thank you for that message, Larry. My random thought. Well, actually, let me do my score prediction really quick. I'm going to go 2-0 Orange County over Phoenix. My random thought is going to be this. Amazing time to be watching soccer, at least for me. Top of the table in the Premier League and a great 3 matches here for Orange County to win a championship, and that's going to be awesome. And my boys, my son's team is still undefeated. There we go. I want to thank everyone, including those people here on the show with me, Taylor, Larry, Dylan, producer, Andy. Brad was hanging out in the chat, so thank you for doing that, Brad. Also, all of you that were in the chats and sharing your thoughts, asking questions. It was very busy in there today, which is always fun to see. I love it. And also, again, our guests, Brian Iloski and Paul Hardiman from Orange County Soccer Club. We appreciate them joining us tonight. Let's do this. Let's get a win at the Champ. I guess we're going to call it that now, right? This Saturday. And then we'll see. Maybe we go to Sacramento or maybe we host San Antonio again for a 3rd round of the Slugfest against San Antonio. Either way, it'll be fun. And then we go on to the finals, hopefully, knock on wood. Got my plantation rum to do. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We are out.